All right, we're on mile 7 plus. Swapped out a brand new ice pack, which makes all the difference in the world. This heat, insane heat. And swapped out shoes and socks. Nice shoes and socks because they get so sweaty from the heat and humidity. It's really annoying. Only took a couple minutes total to swap everything out. But I want to talk about buying gear that has low overhead so that you can get more done. And by that I mean maintenance, fussiness, upkeep. Some stuff's more expensive, but I'm always looking for ones that are less expensive, because the stuff that's more expensive actually pays off. If you can say, well, actually it's going to save me money over time because it's going to save me time and wear and tear, then it ends up being less expensive anyway. So I'll give a bunch of examples, but right now we're hiking up this hill. I'm feeling freaking amazing. The ice pack on the bike yesterday, total game changer compared to the ride the week before, where what I did is I saved it until hour 2. Well, after 2 hours, so I guess hour 3 on the bike. So if it's a block of ice, it's going to take a long time. Not ice cubes, but a solid block. It's going to take a long time to thaw out. And what I waited is until I finished 2 hours. Then I started drinking that thing. And then I had ice water for the next hour and 30 minutes. And that was perfect because that's when it started getting hotter and hotter and hotter. There's this buzzard in the road that's got a death wish. We have to see what he's picking at. There you go. But the end result is today I feel awesome. Normally I'd be dehydrated from yesterday and really struggling. And today so far I feel better, way better than usual. So let's see what we got. It's a coral snake. Sorry for the grossness. Hope y'all can tell. Red on yellow. Or black on yellow. What is it? Let's see. Black on yellow and red on yellow. So it's got yellow bands between the black and the red. We have those around here. If you didn't know, they're a member of the cobra family. They're highly venomous, but it's very difficult for them to envenomate you. They kind of have to gnaw on you. So the chances of it being a problem for you, and they're not really aggressive or anything like that, but you do need to be careful. Very interesting. All right, let's keep going. So an interesting one on gear is chain wax. I'm going to get to disc brakes here versus rim brakes, which is a really good one here in a second. But chain wax is the most recent one for me. And Silka Super Secret Chain Wax has a little bit of titanium disulfide in it. Look at those pretty flowers, by the way. That's why I started filming there. And it makes your drivetrain last a whole lot longer. You got to pay a little bit more for it, but you're going to be buying wax anyway. And then the savings on your drivetrain add up big time. And there's lots of examples of that, where buying stuff that is made better ends up saving you money, and it costs a little bit more up front. But it's one of the things that I think somebody pointed out to me about buying clothes. You buy stuff from Old Navy and it's going to fall apart. pretty quickly. It's kind of like fast fashion in a way. Hold on a second. Am I getting a phone call? My watch was warning me. Forgot to turn it back on. I don't remember where I turned it off, but it's not very far back. I'll figure it out. I'm an Ironman. I'll figure it out. I know the length of each lap, so I know what to do to get in my half marathon. Anyway, and if you buy Gap, it's made a little bit better. You buy Banana Republic, those are all the same parent company, by the way, and it's made a little bit better. And like somebody pointed out to me, the reason Polo is classic and never seems to go out of style, let's say a Polo style shirt but made by Ralph Lauren Polo, is the stitching is so good that you're going to have that shirt for 10 years before it starts to, and wear it all the time. And that's also why people that buy classic stuff, buy high quality stuff, looks timeless and it just lasts. But anyway, fashion aside, you buy gear. If you're a really authentic person, then that means you're doing stuff, not just looking like stuff. And so if you're really doing things, then the stuff you buy is stuff that lasts. All right. Be back a second. Just finishing mile 1 there. Sorry, that wasn't mile 1. That was mile 8. We're on mile 9. So stuff has a lot of overhead where it's kind of like a car that you can't ever drive because you're always fixing it. It's always in the shop, then you can't ever use it, and then you're not out training, doing the thing that the gear is supposed to allow you to do, right? If you want a really good example of what really works but costs a little bit more, but you can see what people use on the Tour Divide where stuff has to work. And if you look at caliper brakes, cantilever brakes versus disc brakes, disc brakes, once you set them up, almost work flawlessly for a really, really, really long time. You have to change out the brake pads, but that's a very easy thing to do. And they do these surveys on the bikes to see what everybody's running. And almost everybody is running hydraulic disc brakes. You could go simple and do like mechanical disc brakes, but they're doing disc brakes. So you can look at, something that's really hard to do, and where downtime is going to keep you from getting things done. And one of them is the Tour Divide, right? The opposite would be like the Tour de France, where you've got mechanics and everything that are working on your bike for you. You know, they can afford to have stuff that's kind of delicate, and if it breaks, there's a car behind them with another bike even, right? It's like, well, they got to make it through 3 to 4 hours. But they still have a car behind them towing a whole other bike in case this bike doesn't work out. So the stuff that works, look at some big event and see what people actually use. You do have to keep in perspective the speed of people and how long they're out there, right? So Western States 100 just went down this weekend, and the people that won, the people that are fast, just like Ironman, they're not out there as long as you or me. And so Ironman people finish, say especially a half Ironman, the fast people finish before it even gets really hot, right? So they need different gear. And the speeds they're going, they could get away with doing like a sprint gear instead of ultra distance gear, which needs to be more stout. But anyway, I got an example that just happened where it's going to cost more money than I want to spend. But then when I looked at the upsides of it, I'm like, this kind of follows my mantra. So stay tuned. What, mile 10? Yeah, and I'll bring that to you. Whew, this is hot. So my camera that I film on the bike is an Insta360 X4. It's freaking awesome. And last year, I opened the battery compartment to swap out battery halfway through a ride because the battery lasts like maybe an hour or less. Sometimes depends. And forgot to close it or didn't close it carefully all the way. Ended up getting water in it. And since then, it's been spotty. And then on yesterday's bike ride, it was spotty, in and out, crapped out. And so I'm like, okay, looking at the new X5, the upgrade, the battery lasts 3 times as long or twice as long, which means I don't have to open in the field and run this risk of getting water and ruining my equipment. So that's an upgrade where the anti-anxiety, the ease of use is actually worth it. And there's more to it as well. There's the fact that it's got lens covers on it on the X4 to protect the lenses. Well, they end up just fogging over with humidity anytime I come to a stop, and they break, all kinds of stuff. But if you scratch the glass, the real lenses on the X4, your camera's toast, right? And these camera lenses kind of bulge out a little bit, so the risk of scratching them is really high. So I was spending money on lens covers and breaking and losing them and having to go through all these extra steps to make sure that, here's a turtle, the lenses weren't, where'd he go? Weren't fogging up. You made it, buddy. You're good. Although that's not a great spot. Drying out. Anyway, so like setting the camera outside to let the lenses warm up in the humidity and to let that humidity go away and to constantly clean them, all that stuff. And on the new X5, the hard lenses that come on the camera are actually replaceable as well. So if I scratch one, I'm not going to have a scratch on my camera shots for the next 4 years as I use this camera. I'm going to actually, you can buy replacement lenses and put them on, and then I don't have to deal with the humidity factor, this overhead of the humidity and buying spare lenses as I break them and stuff like that. Because I actually take really good care of the regular lenses. I just happen to be like super careful just in case. And you combine those two things, and I'm like, okay, the X5, the X4 has proven the point. I can record podcasts while on the bike. Freaking awesome. I've got all the gear that works. They're about the exact same size, close. I got all the gear that makes it work. I got the remote. I've got the chest strap. I know how to use it. I got the software. I'm very familiar with all of it. And the X4 is toast. So should I buy another X4, which they still sell, or should I spend a little bit more and get the X5? And then I asked myself, well, the X5 solves one problem, which is the opening the battery in the field and then getting crap in there, and then it ruins the camera. Where what mine's doing is it's saying it can't see the SD card half the time. If it's humid, it can't see the SD card to record to. And that's a big problem. And you just don't know when it's going to work and when it isn't. So the X5, if I've shot 2.5 hours worth of video, nearly 3 hours worth of video, dude, that's enough. Nobody wants to watch more than that about one thing, right? That means I never have to open it in the field. And if I do open it, it's such a big event that I can make sure I'm really careful and seal it back up, right? And then I don't have to deal with the humidity problem anymore. I mean, we'll see when the camera gets here, but that's an example of like spending more money for something that's like low maintenance. And people do this a lot. The Ineos Grenadier, it's an SUV now, that is like what a Mercedes G-Wagon, but it's simple, but it's as tough and it's reliable. Doesn't cost as much as a Mercedes G-Wagon, but it does cost way more than a Jeep. And, or, you know, a few tens of thousands of dollars more than a Jeep. But people are willing to pay for something that they don't have to think about. It just works, right? Solid axles, all this stuff, very simple, but people love it. They love it. This one guy I was watching a video on was saying that he's so pissed off that he spent $90,000 on a car and it doesn't have power seats. But it is the most fun car that he's driven. And he loves it more than anything. It's so crazy. Anyway, let's keep running. All right, mile 11. Cold water lasted until 10 and a half miles. Ice water, 10 and a half miles in this insane heat. Anyway, opposite end of the spectrum, stuff that's cheap. Instead of paying expensive money for anti-chafing cream and stuff like that, I wanted some around my waist and, you know, not white so it doesn't look all weird. I just grabbed some Vaseline and rubbed it around my waistband, and now my running belt doesn't chafe. You got an aero spot on your bike that you wish was more aero. You got a round tube, round seat post or something like that. You can go to Hobby Lobby and get foam molding clay, color match it to your bike, and then shape it, and then let it dry, and it dries the same way as styrofoam. And now you have an aero bike. There's just tons of little things where it doesn't matter. And that styrofoam, molding foam, anyway, is it's like $5 or $10. And I've got it where my frame bag doesn't exactly fit my bike, and there's gaps, and my bike's grayish silver. It's like a titanium gray. It comes in black, gray, red, you know, also. And so I've put it in the gaps. And so actually my frame bag is sleek with the bike, and the stuff seriously dries the same weight as styrofoam. So instead of paying $10,000 for an aero frame, you can add styrofoam molding clay that matches your frame. If you have like some standard color frames, you might want to buy your frame on purpose a color that works with this stuff. And then instead of paying an extra $8,000 for some carbon fiber piece, you can just do the styrofoam molding clay. And you got round fork tubes. You put it behind your fork tubes. It stays in place. It's freaking amazing. I've done it on the inside of the rims of my wheels to turn cheap wheels into very expensive deep dish wheels with the clay. And then the thing is if you break it or whatever, you just go to Hobby Lobby and buy more and patch it. But one thing is you can't care about what people think. You know, are you out there to do stuff to impress other people? Or are you doing it like we were talking about earlier, previous episode, about becoming an Ironman? Are you doing it to improve yourself and see what you can do and adapt and overcome? You've got a limited budget. What can you do to make your bike more aero? You know, the first aero bars used in the Tour de France don't cost any more than the bars everybody else was using or maybe, you know, they're made of aluminum, so like maybe $20 more. But then it helped him win the Tour de France, and he had to not care about what other people thought. You know, Greg LeMond. So anyway, what mile are we on? We're on mile 11 and a quarter. Getting very close to being done. Sun's coming out, which on occasion is making it harder. But I have mostly a breeze the rest of the way. There is one stretch that's going to be pretty rough. And now I'm out of ice water, so now it's going to get hard. What would you do? Would you quit? No, dude, we're going to keep going. The fastest way to quit is to go all the way home. It's the same direction. It's a great thing about out and backs. By the time it sucks and you want to go home, sometimes it's easier just to keep going. All right, we'll be back at mile 12. Okay. So on the opposite, different end of the spectrum, a different part of the pie chart, is the Garmin 850 came out, and the screenshot of it on YouTube, the big thumbnail is it's got weather overlay, like where storms are and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that's really handy. That's really cool. Let's look into it and see if it's worth it. And DC Rainmaker does the best reviews. But it turns out it also happens to use a different screen technology that's brighter and better and all that crap. That happens anyway over time. And it runs through battery twice as fast. So then you've got battery anxiety, like with an electric car. And that stress is like, no, thanks. That stuff's not ready for prime time yet. Put it on an older computer. Because, yeah, it's convenient, it's better, and all that other stuff. But if you're out there long enough where you need to look at something like that, you should probably already have a phone with you and pull that up and look at the weather out on your phone and see what you're riding into. I know that's not as convenient, but still, it's just something that's not ready yet. And to spend all this extra money on that, and now for something that gives you more anxiety, Llama, whatever his name, GP Llama, said that he's finishing rides now with battery anxiety, hoping he makes it home. And that sucks. That's like the worst. There's nothing better like getting into a car and you don't even have to look at the fuel gauge. You already know that you filled it up a couple days ago, and that, sorry, I'm walking, it's gotten super hot, and then I've lost my cold water, so I have to be a little more careful. We only have a little ways to go. All you do is just ask yourself, have I charged it recently? You know, or if I put gas in recently, and if it's like, yeah, then you're like, oh, I got plenty of battery or gas or whatever, right? So that my Amazfit T-Rex 3, or like a longer battery life Garmin watch, it's battery life for week to weeks. And it's like the convenience of, we were talking about earlier, no overhead or low overhead. The lack of stress to just be like every once in a while when it occurs to you. Like I charged my watch this morning because I was kind of bored for a second. Not because I needed to. I was like, I don't remember the last time I charged it. I threw it on a charger while I was finishing getting ready for the run. You know? So yeah. Let's see, we'll be back with more. One little bonus thing I wanted to mention while I'm running this really pretty road is earlier noticed the positive mindset that I got to run 10 and a half miles with ice water, right? And what a pleasure that is. And it wasn't, oh my gosh, I've still got 2.5 miles or whatever it is. And I've got no ice water. Oh my God, it's the worst. God, I can't stand it, right? It's appreciating what you have. And in Zen Buddhism, it's practicing where you're happy for other people's good fortune. The glass is half full instead of getting jealous. Somebody else gets a raise or a promotion. You're like, that's good for them. Maybe that'll happen to me someday, you know? Or I got to have ice water. 10 miles of this run. Just wanted to get that out there, that it really works. And it's a mindset you can adopt with training over time. This is a private drive from here on, so we're turning around to the house. We're almost done. All right, 13.1. And look, I finished at the bottom of my street, and I get to walk through this little area here. I'll do a little bit extra. 13.15. But ice for the win. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. And I will have gone through almost 4 liters of water. I would say 3.5 by the time I'm done here. Really pretty flowers back there. I usually like to take pictures of. But let's go jump in the pool and do a little bit of review of what worked, the shoe situation, ice, what I used for fuel. Come back to you in the pool. Again, these full-length videos are on YouTube because I cut them off. They're at least twice as long when I publish them. You're missing a lot at the ends. So, yeah, this might have been my most successful hot run in a very, very long time. I'm also doing shade hunting. I'm running extra because I feel so good. Another way I save money is by making my own fuel. I'll use boutique fuels. You still want to train with them some, but like Hummingbird fuels, which I love for like races. But if you spend money on them all the time, you're got to be rich financially, just like you don't care. Because it turns out, I think we're done. 13.23, yeah, we're done. It turns out that table sugar is possibly one of the best fuels, and then sodium citrate as your electrolyte. And you can buy both of those bulk online at Well, you buy table sugar at the grocery store, and it's so easy, and it tastes okay. It doesn't taste bad. And then what I do is Gatorade powder, which you can also buy at the grocery store in big containers for cheap, is basically table sugar with a little bit of electrolytes and flavor. So you can, today's flavor has been brought to you by Gatorade Orange, right? But you could do lemon lime, you could mix them. There's fruit punch, all kinds of stuff. And then I like coloring it so that I can see how much I've used and how much I got left. And because I don't know how much water I'm going to use, I go ahead and put the electrolyte, the minimum base level in here. And I know I'm going to drink almost 4 liters of water today. So I put 4 liters of sodium citrate, which you do buy in bulk on Amazon. But anyway, the amount of money you save, what that does is it buys you freedom, right? All of a sudden, you can actually afford to go to that location and do that big race or event that you've been wanting to do because you have hundreds of more dollars per year in your bank account. So let's go inside and cool down. And I'll come back to you with a little bit of gear and a little bit of saving money by washing your stuff yourself. All right? All right, bye. All right, we're in the pool drinking a hazy little thing IPA. These are the Topo Phantom 4s, which I've been running in. I saved these for the second half of the run as your feet kind of get tired of the first pair of shoes. And that's another example of spending money where if you rotate your shoes in and out, you can make them last longer than if you just blow them out and then got to buy another pair of shoes. So together, my 2 pairs of shoes will last 1,000, 1,500 miles instead of just, because I rotate them out, instead of just like 600, 700 miles. Table sugar with a little bit of, what do you call it? Gatorade powder for flavor. I'm rinsing out my stuff and actually going to soap them a little bit so that they last longer. And we've got our own version of the reflection tool here. The summer heat is so much that algae starts growing. You got a constant battle with it. If it wasn't so hot, it wouldn't be that bad. And over here we have the shampoo I'm going to use to clean up. And I wore, because it was overcast at first, very light colored blue sunglasses, which put me in a good mood. I noticed when I got these shoes and I wore them at work the first day to kind of break them in a little bit, it put me in this really nice mood. It was pretty funny how it made me feel. And yes, the Amazfit, no, my watch is an Amazfit, but these are the Shox swim version. These are 100% waterproof. I could dunk them in water, swim with them all the time for an hour at a time because you can load MP3s on them. I wear these for really sweaty workouts so that they won't short out like I had a pair of regular ones do that are supposedly sweat resistant, but not as much as you would hope. And the Amazfit T-Rex 3 watch, which just works and saved more than half the money over the watch I wanted to get from Garmin, and it does all the same stuff. Almost as good, but then you've got to ask, how good are you? And anyway, doing the same route over and over and over and over again, you fine tune what works, what doesn't, and you can adjust on the fly. And believe me, there's enough variety already, right? With temperature and days of the week and stress and how you feel from the day before. There's enough in there already to make things interesting. But by doing the same routes over and over again, you can start dialing in what works because you can easily compare, And this has been the fastest, easiest, I don't know if it's definitely not the fastest half marathon by a freaking billion miles. But anyway, it's been the easiest half marathon in the Texas heat on the weekend just for fun, casual training run that I've done in a long time. And I would say it's rotating out shoes, not during the run so much per se, but also just the past week, rotating shoes so my feet are nice and fresh. And then ice and the Camelback, which I figured out a couple runs ago to do 2 of them and rotate them out. And then all this other stuff is stuff I've done over the freaking years, right? And so I just go out and run a half marathon like it's nothing, but it's not nothing. It is a decade, 2 decades of trying this and trying that, figuring stuff out, what actually works and what doesn't. And the latest thing is yesterday, and also a couple other runs, I've done, let's look at the waterfall while I think. Or algae reflecting pond. A piece of cheese as soon as I finish, because I like doing an IPA after I finish something hard, but a piece of cheese, and I felt really, really good. So I might do some more of that and experiment. There's always stuff to experiment with, and to see what works better and what doesn't. And tinkering around with things really teaches you a lot, and it's part of the fun. Because you might stumble across something that just is a game changer, And then also, the other thing is when life throws lemons your way and you have to do things differently than what you wanted, don't fight it too hard. Do it. You might learn that it's actually better. So River is a really good example. So frustrating that he has to stop constantly to sniff every freaking mailbox. So what it did is it got me out of my neighborhood and running in the countryside a little bit more where there's fewer houses. Where the houses are spread out a whole lot more, so we're not stopping as much. And it got me a whole nother route, which is actually, and I needed it at the time from a foot injury, smoother, flatter. It's not as hard for the same distance. and also got me exploring, but it got me running. I found a route that runs east and west instead of north and south. And so instead of dying on my long run from being overheated, I'm running east and west more, and I'm getting a cross breeze. So what turned out to be I was like, God, what am I going to do about this dog? He taught me about something new. And there's some pretty flowers. Here's your moment of zen. Look at those roses. I think I might need to give those to Emily. All right, everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, keep the rubber side down. If you want coaching, Zen Triathlon on Instagram, you can DM me or send an email to texifornia@gmail.com. Links are in the show notes, probably somewhere. And to support the show, you can go to zentriathlon.com, and there's donation buttons on the bottom left. You can do one time or you can do recurring. And that's how we get this stuff done. All right. Yeah, you can see I'm really in a good mood because all the hydration and fueling just worked out. So that's a really good sign. All right, bye. Stay safe.